In the second year of our marriage, the emperor seized my husband's wife. A great fire engulfed the marquis mansion, and I died in the flames only to become the emperor's forbidden concubine. He treated me with utmost kindness, building a jade mountain and a lofty terrace for me. In the sweltering heat, he fanned himself and crafted ice mirrors. In the bitter cold, he personally warmed my bed. But during my fourth miscarriage, I overheard his conversation with a eunuch. The imperial physician says if Her Majesty miscarries again, she will never conceive. This medicine, send it. The emperor's voice was restrained. Right now. Hui has finally married into the marquis household and is pregnant. Qin Pei has accepted her. We cannot afford any mishaps. Regardless of whether Chang'e bears children, I will provide for her for the rest of her life. A chill ran through my body, because Hui was my own sister. Trembling, I returned to the bedchamber and accidentally knocked over a vase. Crash! Sharp shards scattered across the floor. Before I could utter a word, Xiao Heng strode in, stepping right onto the glass as if oblivious. He swept me up in his arms. He laid me gently upon the soft couch. Only then did he remind me with a hint of reproach. Didn't I tell you? Call out if you need anything. If they fail, I will handle it. The emperor, who sat high above all, personally removed my shoes and socks, warmed my feet, and tucked the quilt around me. Only then did he turn to call out to a eunuch nearby. Bring the medicine. My fingertips stiffened. I love children. Even before Xiao Heng brought me to this imperial retreat, when I learned I would marry Qin Pei, I had already imagined it. I wanted a boy and a girl. Back then, the four of us were very close at the Imperial Academy. Xiao Heng was still just an unpopular prince. When they heard my dreams, they burst out laughing. My younger sister, a year my junior, immediately clung to my hand, pouting. So when big sister has a baby, will she stop loving me? I gently tapped her forehead with my finger. Silly girl, big sister will always love you the most. Looking back now, I suddenly understand why Xiao Heng rose silently then, stepping between us, continuing to talk to me. It wasn't concerned for me at all, was concerned about me lightly poking my sister's forehead. The crackle of the charcoal fire snapped me back to the present. Xiao Heng patiently held the medicine, blew on it to cool it, then brought a spoonful to my lips. It's not hot anymore. My hand drifted to my belly. This child had been here less than 2 months, and I hadn't felt much before. But in this moment, the knife-twisting pain in my heart radiated to my abdomen. Can I skip it today? My stomach hurts a little. If you're uncomfortable, you need the medicine even more. This was specially prepared by the chief physician of the Imperial Hospital. It's good for your body. I softened my voice, clinging to a last shred of hope. Tomorrow is my birthday. His Majesty promised to grant me a gift. I don't want to drink this bitter medicine. 2 years ago on my birthday, Xiao Heng personally prepared a sword dance set. Amidst the heavy snow, he caught a frost flower and presented it to me. Even a rootless flower can be caught. His hands were crimson, for he wielded an ice sword. Moved, I grasped his hands, melting the frost blossoms. He said today's gift was lost, but for future birthdays, whatever I asked for, he would grant. Yet now, he seemed resigned. Chang'e, for the child's sake, you can't act like a child. You couldn't keep the previous 4 children. Don't you want this one? And haven't you already chosen a name? The spoon touched my lips. The medicine was sweetened with honey. I looked into his eyes. And Your Majesty, do you want this child? Xiao Heng pressed harder, forcing the liquid down my throat. He murmured softly, I have yet to have an heir naturally. I still desire one. Then he scooped a second spoonful. After this, you must recover your health. We shall have many more children. Your constitution is weak. I have issued edicts far and wide, summoning the finest gynecologists from every province. I had suffered 4 miscarriages. Yet Xiao Heng had never shown such urgency. This time, with Song Hu's pregnancy, he was so impatient. I released my grip on his wrist and lifted the medicine bowl directly, tilting my head back. I drained it in one gulp. Sleep-inducing herbs had been added to the potion. When I awoke, 6 or 7 imperial physicians knelt on the floor. My body still throbbed with residual spasms. The 2 palace maids beside me were unfamiliar faces. Seeing my eyes open, they nearly burst into tears. Your Highness is awake. The physicians exhaled in unison, wiping sweat from their brows. Xiao Heng, who had been standing with his back to me, whirled around abruptly. He took 2 steps forward, nearly stumbling. His eyes were bloodshot, his face gaunt and exhausted. Changel, you're awake. So glad you're awake. You've been unconscious for 3 days. He grabbed my hand and pressed it against his face. It was covered in fine stubble, but I only felt a wave of nausea and pulled my hand away. He snapped to attention and immediately called out to the physicians. Hurry and examine her. The physicians filed forward, not daring to lift the thin gauze. They diagnosed her pulse by the thread, their expressions grave. Your Majesty, this consort, though her hemorrhaging has ceased, but it is likely she will never, he struggled to say, be able to bear children again. Though this outcome was long anticipated, Xiao Heng reacted as if hearing it for the first time. His face instantly drained of color. Medicine, the finest medicine. I command you to cure her. The physicians kowtowed, the scene descending into chaos. I called out, Ah Heng. I addressed the emperor by his given name, and no one present dared utter a sound. Xiao Heng immediately reined in his temper. You have no idea how these past 3 days have been for me. The thought of he drew a deep breath. Once you're well, 9 months from now, I shall make you imperial consort. For 3 years in the imperial retreat, I held no official status. Whispers and private mockery never ceased. Without proper recognition, my words held no weight. Once, for the sake of our child, I asked him if he could grant me the lowest rank of consort. With so many consorts in the palace, one more lady would go unnoticed. But that day, he shook his head in refusal. Changel, if you have a title, you must abide by the rules. I cannot bear to see you bound by them again. Moreover, court officials would inevitably gossip. If it affects the Song family, your father, your sister, it wouldn't be good, would it? Now, to grant me the title of imperial consort requires proclaiming it to the realm, offering sacrifices to heaven, earth, and our ancestors. How could a palace maid who died in that fire suddenly be worthy? So it wasn't that he couldn't grant it before. He simply didn't want to. Now, is it because of guilt? But I no longer want it. Only after the imperial physician departed did I slowly rise. The floor was covered in soft cushions, the most precious sections of fine fox fur, a coat woven from armpits. I hadn't noticed before. But now I saw Song Hu's shadow everywhere in this palace. Her favorite June porcelain, her beloved turquoise hue, the magnolia-patterned animal-eared incense burner she adored, and the jasmine flowers she cherished. I suddenly couldn't help but chuckle to myself. How foolish. I met Qin Pei before bringing my sister to the academy. He was handsome and served as a companion reader to the prince. Back then, my mother told me that as the daughter of a prince, all my potential marriage partners would be among the students at the academy. She held Qin Pei in the highest regard. I liked him too. My sister was innocent. Her mother died young, and my mother, disliking distance, practically raised her myself. I feared they might bully her, so I asked Qin Pei to help me look out for her. Back then, Xiao Heng sat in front of me. His mother was an unloved consort, and while other princes ignored him, he came to ask me about lessons. Gradually, we became friends too. Looking back now, he wasn't really asking me for help with his studies. He was a walking encyclopedia with a photographic memory. The questions he posed were already deeply ingrained in his mind. It was merely an excuse. An excuse to talk to me. And to get closer to that little sister of mine, who was propping her chin up and arguing with someone else. What premeditated, deliberate waiting. What years of longing. From start to finish, it was nothing but a farce. I had just reached the doorway, cloak draped over my shoulders. Xiao Hung, returning from court, quickened his pace. You shouldn't be exposed to drafts during your confinement. The room is stifling, I replied. The jasmine scent was too overpowering. Xiao Hung hesitated. You've been breathing this fragrance for 3 years now. I thought you'd grown accustomed to it. I don't like it, I replied. Changle, don't be silly, he murmured softly. If you dislike it, they'll simply move the flowers to my own chambers. By the way, I have good news. Your beloved sister, Hui Hui, has married. She married the man she cherished most. Who did she marry? I asked. A flicker of unease crossed Xiao Hung's eyes. To the newly enfeoffed Duke of N. Had I not accidentally learned of Qin Pei's recent promotion? I truly would have been deceived. Xiao Hung drew a small cloth bundle from beneath his cloak. She misses you terribly. She wept bitterly last night. A tender look appeared in his eyes. I heard you two made a promise if she ever got pregnant, you'd make the baby's first outfit. My heart turned to ashes. The last trace of moisture in my eyes slowly dried up. I asked, but I'm dead, aren't I? Xiao Hung coaxed gently. Just add a few stitches here and there. Pretend you made it for her long ago. She'll understand your heart. Besides, he sighed softly. Changle, it was your birthday wish that we'd do everything to protect Hui Hui. You said some innocence in this world deserves safeguarding. That you hoped she'd never know sorrow or grief. Didn't we do everything just as you said? My heart trembled. Back then, when I was imprisoned, struggling and resisting in agony, it was Xiao Hung who said it. If I disobeyed, think of my sister outside. He had 1,000 ways to make me compliant, including bringing my sister to accompany and persuade me. At that time, for my family, I chose to compromise. And I, my beloved sister, was not truly as innocent as a white lotus, unaware of anything. She knew everything. These words, I had spoken only to her, from beginning to end. I reached out and took the bundle. Fine, I'll make it, but when it's done, I want to deliver it myself. I want to see my dear sister too. Xiao Hung hesitated, and I coughed sharply. He immediately said, all right, but only from a distance. It's best not to disturb her. She's pregnant now. It's not good for her to have too many emotional ups and downs. So, is this also why it took 9 months before I could be crowned imperial consort? By the time I finished my postpartum confinement, my body had mostly recovered, but I still asked the imperial physician for calming herbs every day, claiming I couldn't sleep. Then, little by little, I boiled down the brewed herbal decoction again and again, concentrating it. Finally, on the day I finished embroidering the baby's swaddling clothes, I bathed and dressed anew, styling my hair in a fresh updo. When Xiao Hung approached, his eyes shone brightly, bending down to watch me apply my eyebrow powder. He momentarily considered helping me himself. I playfully pushed him away, but he leaned in closer instead. Changle, you're so beautiful. I never realized before how stunning you look with this distant mountain green eyebrow shade. And this hairstyle suits you perfectly. Before, through the 7 or 8 parts of me he saw, only Song Hui existed, naturally. He never noticed the subtle differences in these eyebrows. As he spoke, he suddenly lowered his head and kissed me gently. I held back for a moment, but he grew increasingly aroused, making a dangerous suggestion. Changle, the snow hasn't stopped outside. Why don't we delay our departure? I miss you terribly. I pushed his face away. His eyes were filled with lust. These past 40 days, I've endured so long. I smiled faintly, suppressing my nausea. and took a sip of the medicinal broth first. Then your majesty should drink the soup first. Shall we? The imperial physicians have been replaced recently, and this medicinal broth has a rich flavor. Xiao Hong paused. Hui wasn't feeling well the other day, so I had all the imperial physicians stand by. You don't blame me for overreacting, do you? Of course not. Whatever your majesty says, whatever you say. From now on, they'll do as you wish. Is that all right? Next year, they'll have all the imperial physicians attend you instead as long as you give me a little prince. He drained the medicated broth in one gulp. As soon as he reached the bed, he collapsed limply. I took his official pass, changed into court attire, and picked up a lantern, reaching the palace gate. I raised the pass and walked straight out. The carriage glistened in the light. Just then, I caught sight of Qin Pei at the far end of the long street. He rode his horse while someone spoke from within the carriage. Curtains drawn. Could it be anyone other than my hypocritical sister? I urged the driver to hasten forward. As we drew nearer, I watched Qin Pei, whom I hadn't seen in 3 years, grow closer. Qin Pei and I had known each other since childhood, practically growing up together. Later, we married, becoming a celebrated couple in the capital. My in-laws were kind. My husband harmonious back then. Aside from my suddenly ill sister, I had scarcely a worry. I fretted constantly over Song Hui, always nagging Qin Pei about her, even sending him to deliver medicine. After 2 trips, he refused. He made excuses, and when pressed, he hesitated, muttering, "I'm no doctor, and even if I'm your brother-in-law, I'm still an outsider. I want go. Even if you beat me, I want go." Ever since we shared our feelings, he had become the very embodiment of self-restraint and propriety. Wherever Song Hui was, if I wasn't present, he certainly wouldn't be either. Even if Xiao Heng summoned him, he'd find excuses to avoid going. Yet here he was now. Qin Pei sat astride a white horse, leaning forward slightly. He bent his head gently, wiping the smudged lip balm from the corner of Song Hui's mouth. The wind still blows fiercely. You mustn't stay out in the cold for more than half an incense stick's time. Why haven't you lowered the window curtains yet? That indulgent tone felt so familiar. My heart clenched, and I called his name in a trembling voice. Qin Chen. Qin Pei froze, straightening to look at me, but I was suddenly dragged back into the carriage, my mouth covered. Someone yanked the reins. A dagger pressed against the driver's waist. Turn back. The man who appeared was none other than my father's trusted aide, Song Xian. Song Xian declared, "The Lord wishes to see you. Does your heart hold only Qin Pei, and no place for your birth father?" My struggle ceased. 3 years ago, on the eve of the Great Fire, my mother passed away from illness. Aside from Song Hui, my father was my sole remaining kin. These past 3 years, half of what sustained me through life was this father who always smiled and gently tousled my hair. Qin Pei was important, but father meant just as much to me. We switched carriages and entered the estate through the rear courtyard. The moment I saw my father, tears spilled unbidden. 3 years of grievances, humiliation, rage, and unease had congealed into a lump of sorrow and resentment in my heart. I knelt and bowed deeply. "Your unfilial daughter, Song Changle, greets father." There was none of the long-awaited reunion I'd imagined. Father's first words were, "How did you come out?" He glanced behind me. "Did you displease His Majesty? Were you expelled?" I straightened, staring at him in shock. So, he knew all along. Of course. How could he not? Even when burned beyond recognition in the flames, one's likeness remains identifiable to those closest. Father sighed deeply once more. "You, my child, have always been headstrong and stubborn. Had your sister remained in the palace, she would never have ended up in such a predicament. Alas, she was too naive, fixated solely on marrying a commoner. Even when the Son of Heaven pleaded with her, She refused, even threatening suicide. In the end, you were the one who gained the advantage. Yet you still failed to seize it. My mouth fell slightly open. Naive and pitiful. Would a naive and pitiful person marry her sister's widower while her sister's body was still warm? The father before me felt unfamiliar. His robes had changed from the 4th-rank pattern of a minister of the Secretariat to the 12-patterned robes of a full 2nd-rank minister of state. Glancing around, the coral and pearls in the house were dazzling, all tribute items from the palace. So that's it. This place had long ceased to be my home. I sprang to my feet. 2 servants immediately blocked my path. Father watched me. You cannot leave. Your departure would reflect poorly on your sister. He had already made up his mind. Since you've fallen out of favor with His Majesty and lost your status, they'll allow you to take the place of your maid, Lian Xin. You shall live as a servant in our ancestral temple back in Nanyang. Lian Xin was my maid, but she was alive and everyone knew her. How could I take her place? Seeing my confusion, Father grew more certain. It seems you truly never understood His Majesty's heart. Did he not tell you that during that great fire, Lian Xin died in your place? If she hadn't insisted on wearing your clothes and leaping into the flames, do you think His Majesty would have truly spared you? My whole body trembled. All this time, Xiaoheng had told me it was a maid who died of illness who was buried in my place, urging me not to dwell on it. He even claimed he had kept his promise not to trouble my maidservants or family, taking care of them all. Had even shown me letters from Liangxin's family as proof. So it was Lian Xin. She died in my place. I murmured Liangxin's name, tears falling. But Father grew furious. Hui pleaded for you too. The Emperor spared your life only to spare her grief. You show no gratitude to your own sister, yet weep for a lowly servant girl. How did I raise such a heartless daughter? I glared at Father in anger. Father. But everything that happened to me was because of Song Hui. If not for her, how could I have been forced to die in the fire? Father waved his hand dismissively. Enough. I have no daughter like you. From now on, you are forbidden to call me father. He ordered his attendants, guards, take Lian Xin away and lock her up. The city gates are closed today. Send her back to our ancestral home in Nanyang after the 2nd young miss returns from her banquet tomorrow. I was locked in the woodshed. I bribed the guard with a jade pendant, asking him to summon Father. The moment Father arrived, I put on my most obedient expression. Nanyang is a long journey. Father, why not send me to our ancestral lands in Linchuan instead? Mother is buried there. Consider it for her sake, I beg you. Father and mother were deeply devoted to each other. A celebrated tale in the capital. From childhood onward, whenever I displeased Father, no matter how grave the offense, mentioning mother would always make him smile wryly, sigh helplessly, and let bygones be bygones. But now, at the mention of mother, Father only sneered coldly. Do you think I don't know your scheme? That woman's maternal clan is in Linchuan. You want to leverage their influence to pressure me. His words held no pretense of hiding his disgust. Didn't your mother always flaunt her status as a noble lady of the Linchuan Xie clan, trampling others underfoot? He was referring to the incident where he was chosen as a scholar's son-in-law and reluctantly had to give up Song Hu's young mother. But when they were selecting a scholar's son-in-law, didn't they ask Father if he was already married? Father said he wasn't. Shut up. And then, because of your mother's suspicion and jealousy, she secretly investigated and disturbed the moon goddess. That's why poor Hui gave birth prematurely. That's why the moon goddess bled to death. Hui's frail health since childhood is directly tied to your vicious mother. I stared in shock at this unfamiliar father before me. How utterly innocent mother was. Years into their marriage, mother suddenly learned father had impregnated a childhood sweetheart who was now being harassed by thugs. Despite having just given birth herself, she endured the heartache and went to fetch Yunyang back to the estate, to give Song Hui a legitimate status. It was father's fear of the Xie family's reproach that made him urgently order his attendants to move Yunyang away, leading to the tragedy. Now mother was branded as jealous and the perpetrator. I angrily revealed the truth. Father only sneered coldly. Who can't spout pretty words? If your mother truly wished to support me, why didn't she voluntarily propose making Yang a cowwife? The argument reached this point, and I knew further words were futile. Yun Yang, a commoner born to merchants, had even studied theater. How could she possibly stand equal to mother, a legitimate wife married through proper channels? Even if father was the only low-born counselor in the imperial court back then, it couldn't have quelled the Xia clan's fury. Moreover, mother never refused Yun Yang's entry into the household. Later, toward Song Hui, she fulfilled every duty expected of a legitimate mother. All that sincerity went to waste. Father and daughter Song, two of a kind. I longed to tear off their hypocritical masks right then and there. The banquet arrived the next day as scheduled, to prevent complications and silence me. Father locked me in the woodshed. I gnawed through the ropes just as Song Hu's maid dismissed the attendants to come mock me. Seizing the moment, I knocked her unconscious and slipped into her clothes, carrying a tray of tea. I made my way out. The outer hall bustled with activity. Inside the flower hall, Qin Pei and the honored guests were present. I navigated past the second courtyard without incident. As I passed the carved gate, victory seemed within reach until a burly maid seized my shoulder. Song Hui emerged from behind, dressed in a flamboyant floral gown. She shoved me into the adjacent room. Sister, it's been a long time. Song Hu's voice was soft, yet her face held no trace of innocence or warmth, only bitter resentment. She wore a vibrant peach-colored silk gown with sheer overlay, a stark contrast to her former attire. Who are you here to see? Sister, your husband. Oh. My apology belongs to me now. I sneered coldly. Qin Pei and I grew up together. We were betrothed in childhood. Do you truly believe a few words could cloud his judgment? My sister slowly placed her hand on her belly. Sister. That's only because he doesn't know a woman like me exists. He didn't touch me the first month after our wedding. But starting the second month, he took leave 4 times in a row, every night. Once he got into my bed, he couldn't bear to leave. Did you two ever do such things before? Now that I'm pregnant, he's even more reluctant to leave me. He won't even let me touch anyone else, not even with my hands. I stared at her. Why? Why must it be Qin Pei? Song Hui fixed me with a piercing gaze. You like Qin Pei. Does that mean I can't? He's the love of my life. Yet you beat me to it. I'm merely reclaiming what's rightfully mine. Her eyes burned with unbearable jealousy. All my life, you've been one step ahead of me, both daughters of the Song family. Yet mother schemed for you to marry into a prestigious household, while I was forced to choose among impoverished scholars. Sister, you claim to cherish me most. Yet can't you bear to see me happy? She rattled off my alleged crimes, like the day of her birthday. When father seized the chance to get mother to register Song Hui under her name, it was I who interrupted father, ruining her opportunity. One nearly laughed in anger. That day, mother was so enraged by father she coughed up blood. In that situation, how could I not stop him? Song Hu's voice carried hurt, resentment, and fury. Then why did you refuse to take me to the academy afterward? After 3 months at the academy, you caused 4 young masters to secretly fight over you. It was the instructor who suggested you transfer to a private school. Song Hui cut me off rudely. Admit it. Admit it. You're just jealous of me, aren't you? Jealous that I'm popular. Jealous that my classmates talk to me. Jealous that the emperor favors me. Jealous that they fight over me. I gazed at this sister I'd cherished since childhood with bitter sorrow. She finished speaking. I smiled softly. Years of care at home couldn't warm your heart. You cherish your looks but neglect household affairs. You've never paid attention to the front hall or the inner quarters. So naturally you wouldn't know this annex has long been connected. I pushed my hand out, and the door beside us, which had seemed like a wall, swung open with a click. So our conversation. The neighbors heard every word. Those distinguished guests in the hall just moments ago heard it all. Song Hyu's face paled instantly. She whipped her head around. Outside, sitting directly opposite, was Chin Pei. I looked at Chin Pei. He had already risen, staring at me blankly, but soon, he turned his head away. Only then did I see that of the once crowded guests. Only father and Chin Pei remained seated inside. Chin Pei's lips trembled, his face as pale as paper. Father said, "I always knew this girl was wicked. If my son-in-law hadn't quickly defused the situation and sent the guests away, who knows what rumors spread about Hui Hui. The emperor would certainly be displeased. Thank goodness you were thoughtful." Chin Pei remained silent for a moment. Father-in-law, are you questioning my devotion to Hui Hui? No matter what she does, she remains the mother of my child. Song Hyu's previously flustered expression relaxed, replaced entirely by a smile. Husband, father would never doubt you. She adopted the posture of a victor. Sister, you always lectured me that using beauty to serve men was absurd and laughable. Now, who is the laughingstock? Whatever you were willing to do for him, I can do for him. Whatever you were unwilling to do for him, I am still willing to do for him. Sister, I love my brother-in-law more than you do. Oh, wait, you're not my sister anymore. You're just the maid Lianxin now. Her words left Chin Pei's face even paler. Yet he remained silent throughout. How laughable. Years of childhood friendship. 2 years as classmates. A year of loving marriage all outweighed by a shallow, wanton body on a soft bed. Everything around me before was nothing but a joke. I laughed mockingly. Disappointment reached its peak. Yet my heart rolled back inch by inch, seeing I hadn't collapsed. Song Hui grew displeased. You still have the nerve to laugh. Why aren't you weeping? Why no despair? No begging for mercy? Laughing? Do you even know? Liang Xin, your mistress, the matriarch of the Song household, oh, you know how she died. She didn't die of illness. She took the wrong medicine. She was poisoned alive. I whipped my head around. If it weren't for you, you slut, always trying to get pregnant, I wouldn't have been so desperate, and father wouldn't have acted prematurely. She could have endured another half year. It was you. You killed your own mother. Ha ha. A surge of hot blood rushed to my head. They all must die. In that instant, my resolve was set. The next moment, I flipped my hairpin and stabbed it towards Song Hyu's throat. Mere inches away. I wanted her dead. Once Song Hui was dead, that madman Xiao Heng, didn't he adore her? He'd surely fly into a rage and take it out on others. That old fool Song Su and Chin Pei, who failed to save her, would definitely have to pay with their lives too. Every lackey and accomplice left in this mansion must die too. Not a single dog of the Song family would be spared. Alas, I landed only one stab before being seized. Song Hui screamed in agony, her wails crashing against the table. I was flung to the floor. Song Su roared in fury. This insolent traitor. Execute him by beating. Chin Pei immediately protested. Impossible. Song Su sneered coldly. What is there to fear? She spent 3 years sleeping beside the emperor in the palace, yet failed to win his heart. Even she was cast out, what use could she possibly be now? His Majesty has long grown weary of her. The emperor is only concerned for our Hui Hui. We must first avenge Hui Hui, Chin Pei said. But Hui Hui is carrying a child now. Bloodshed would be unwise. Perhaps it would be better to sell her off instead. Song Hui clutched her throat, shrieking hoarsely. Sell her. Father. Sell this whore. Send her to the lowest brothel. To a one-coin brothel. A one-coin brothel, as the name implies, was a place where one could pay just 1 coin for a visit. The patrons were the poorest riffraff. Most of the women inside were diseased, unlikely to survive beyond a month. I was restrained. Chin Pei looked at me, paused silently for a moment, then said, "That's best. Sell her as far away as possible." Song Su nodded. Right. After all, she once slept with His Majesty. What if His Majesty finds it disgusting? I was taken down less than 2 hours later when the matchmaker arrived. The ropes binding my hands had long since snapped free. I watched her coldly. The matchmaker dismissed her attendants, claiming she needed to inspect my quality. Closing the door, she lowered her voice with a smile. "Don't be afraid, girl. I'm here to help you." She said the Duke had ordered a grand mansion with servants galore prepared for me. This wasn't going out to suffer, but to enjoy a life of luxury. Seeing I remained unmoved, the matchmaker chuckled softly. "I didn't expect you to be so sharp. Oh, and the Duke also mentioned your fiery temper. Much of what he said today was out of necessity. I hope you'll understand. Was applying lip balm for Song Hui out of necessity. Was clinging to leave requests out of necessity. Was impregnating Song Hui out of necessity." I lowered my gaze. "I understand. When do we leave?" The matchmaker smiled. "That's the spirit. A woman must be docile and obedient. Know when to advance and retreat. And know when to quit while she's ahead." It's already remarkable that the esteemed Duke spoke so softly. Fool. Qin Pei revealed his identity to her and shared secrets that must never be disclosed. This means she has no future after completing her task. She will surely be silenced. Exiting the Song Ri, Sidence's back gate, chaos reigned outside. Imperial guards patrolled the streets intermittently. Military officers, armed with search warrants, combed through every household. Servants from neighboring households murmured that yesterday's palace theft had occurred. Precious items were stolen. And they were hunting for the thief of female thief. No less. They'd heard she must be captured alive, with a reward of 10,000 taels of gold for her capture. The matchmaker's heart stirred. 10,000 taels of gold. Could it be the imperial seal? Another gatekeeper, envious, chimed in. Who knows? With such a high reward, even if it's not the seal, it must be something precious like a consort. Truth be told, it was merely the Emperor's loss of face. Was it because I stepped on his face before leaving? Come to think of it, Xiaoheng really is a man who values his reputation above all. His mother came from humble origins. After ascending the throne, to elevate her status, he forcibly registered himself under the name of the principal consort who shared the palace with his mother. Yet this very man humbled himself for Song Hui, confining me for 3 years, all to spare the innocent and pure her from bearing the psychological burden of sister murder. The street grew increasingly chaotic. Another person remarked, "That female thief is said to be quite beautiful in oval face, arched eyebrows like distant mountains, a dot of vermilion between her brows, and a tear mole beneath her eye." Truth be told, if I hadn't known this young lady came from the Minister of Right's residence, I'd have suspected her all along. The matchmaker snapped. "Off you go. I'm the one pushing to sell her. Shall fetch a penny pottery piece." The gatekeeper stared at me in shock, his expression pitiful. Pushed along, I crossed the second street. The matchmaker led us deeper into the back alleys. Near the end lay a dilapidated courtyard, already crammed with women. Some had been sold by their parents, others kidnapped. They begged pitifully at the sight of us. The matchmaker kicked aside 2 pleading women and led me alone into a separate room. Just as we spoke, the voices of soldiers echoed from outside. The matchmaker tried to go out to investigate. I deliberately dropped the bracelet from my wrist onto the floor. "Aw, what's that?" As she bent to pick it up, I struck her with all my strength, driving my elbow into the back of her neck. She collapsed unconscious. I slipped into her clothes and took her travel permit and household register. Amid the chaos, I fled through the back gate. The courtyard echoed with wails, and faintly, someone cried out, "Wait, that bracelet. The painting has this bracelet." On my way to the Western Market as a merchant, both the Imperial Guards and the military command were rushing toward the East Gate. Word was they'd found a lead on the female thief. Passing the North Gate, I even saw Qin Pei galloping down the street on horseback with his guards, also heading east. What a commotion! I entered the pawn shop in the Western Market and redeemed my former pawned item. At the bottom of the embroidered box lay a fresh household registration document. Lian Qin was my maidservant. Yet we were as close as sisters. Shortly after my marriage, I had her freed from servitude. Back then, to shield her from her unscrupulous parents' influence, I had specially paid a hefty sum to secure her a brand new identity as a law-abiding citizen. Later, Lian Qin couldn't bear to leave, saying she'd wait until I had a child before departing. She stored this gift in the pawn shop. Little did I know that this identity, meant for her, would now become my refuge. I exchanged the treasure box for fresh silver, changed my clothes and disguise, and now I am the merchant Hu Weiyang. After hiring 2 assistants at the market, I took lodging at the largest and nearest the Imperial Palace. An establishment operating here must have powerful connections, with its bustling clientele. Information flows freely. This is how shadows form beneath the lamp. I must weather the storm these next few days. Once the commotion dies down and my goods are ready, the rumors swirling through the capital grow more absurd by the hour. They say the one they're searching for isn't a female thief, but the late emperor's long-lost princess. Apparently, she snuck out to play and was snatched by villains. After a thorough search, they only found the unconscious matchmaker. She'd already been tortured by all sides, suffering every torment until she went mad. When questioned, she'd only say she sold her soul for a single coin, sold for 30 taels. With too many murders on her hands, she was ultimately sentenced to lynching execution in the vegetable market. Spectators returned to gossip. They say she was nearly dead when they brought her to the execution ground, kept alive only by ginseng broth. The emperor was furious, unable to find the real culprit. He had dozens of human traffickers from 3 streets and 6 wards executed. Being a princess sure has its perks. I continued sipping my wine, adding 2 more plates of fresh dishes. This street in the imperial city was the only route into the palace. That dusk, just before curfew began, I actually saw Song Hui. She rode in a carriage drawn by 4 horses, heading straight for the palace gates. Someone in the know whispered to others, "They say she's the emperor's chosen one." Even before the wedding, he specially granted her the ceremonial procession of a princess. No wonder the marquis became a duke overnight. No wonder a mere assistant minister became minister of personnel. Absurd. What's she doing? She looks like she's been crying. I know. They say she had a huge fight with the duke. Probably went to complain. But didn't the duke adore his sister-in-law? That's because you never saw how he doted on his first wife. He held her like she might melt in his hands, ready to give his own heart. When the marquis mansion burned down and the marquis fell gravely ill, this sister-in-law slipped in. The emperor himself acted as matchmaker and attended the wedding. Just half a year ago, remember? I vaguely recalled that night half a year ago when Xiao Heng was dead drunk. That night, he took me roughly for a long time. I asked him about his incognito investigations, about my mother and family. He said they were all fine. That Song Hui was helping care for my mother, telling me to rest her well. That night was also the last night before my mother passed away. Clearly, he knew everything. I crushed the wine glass in my hand. Xiao Heng hadn't slept well for several nights. One piece of bad news followed another. Missing, sold, rescued, but not Song Changle. Any lingering annoyance from being tricked had long vanished. Chaos reigned in the capital. None of the scouts sent out returned with useful intelligence. It was then he began to sense his grip on the capital wasn't as firm as had once believed. No empress consort had been chosen for years, and he had no heir. Having risen to power through ruthless scheming, he now trusted no one. A eunuch announced Song Hu's arrival. After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. In his lifetime, had witnessed too much malice. Only the most innocent and sincere deserved his protection, those who remained forever pure, their eyes untouched by the world's harshness. Song Hui was one such soul. Song Hui had come to lodge a complaint. She was utterly aggrieved. Qin Pei had actually been cruel to her. Xiao Heng patiently inquired, "Why was he cruel to you?" Do you wish him dead? Song Hui shook her head immediately. Your Majesty, please don't kill him. Just make him apologize to me. Xiao Heng replied. Very well. Song Hui smiled, her eyes crinkling. Your Majesty is so kind. Just like Wei Hui's elder brother, always standing by me, unlike him for the sake of some worthless woman. He actually tried to lay a hand on me, claiming that if it weren't for me, that slut Song Changle wouldn't have been sold off, wouldn't have vanished without a trace. I say. She'd be better off dead. What did you say? The emperor, seated on his high throne, suddenly lifted his eyes. Song Hui immediately explained. No, no, no. He was just acting in the heat of the moment. He didn't actually hit me. He didn't. Your Majesty, please don't be angry. Xiao Heng asked. Song Changle was sold. What does that mean? Song Hui gasped, her voice innocent and guileless. Well, she came trying to kill me. My father was furious and wanted to beat her to death. But I thought, even if she's vicious, she's still alive. So I sold her. Xiao Heng uttered each word deliberately. You sold her. Song Hui pouted. I shouldn't have pleaded for her mercy back then. They say a grain of rice creates gratitude, but a bushel breeds resentment. Xiao Heng descended the steps. One by one, Song Hui feigned magnanimity. I meant well, but she didn't appreciate it. I hear she's fiery, even injured the matchmaker. She's probably long gone by now. With a thud, Song Hui fell flat on the ground, dazed and shocked. She covered her face. Your Majesty, you're being so mean to me. A kick flew toward her. Song Hui clutched her chest in pain. Your Majesty, it's Hui Hui. Before this, Xiao Heng had never even raised his voice at her. Now he stomped on her face. Where did you sell her? Speak. The Duchess had entered the palace and hadn't returned all night. Half the imperial city was buzzing with whispers. Early the next morning, the summoning eunuch headed straight for the Minister of Revenue's residence. The minister's servant, who'd been ordering dishes at the tavern, was beaming with pride. It's the eunuch Li, the one His Majesty values most. He demands my master come to the palace immediately. Others flattered him, saying this time the Minister of Revenue might even become one of the 3 high officials. He might even become Chancellor. Naturally, my father, who spent his entire life scheming and plotting, shared the same hope. He entered the palace. Eunuch Li had just finished reassuring Xiao Heng. At least the minister is famously devoted to his daughter. Otherwise, His Majesty wouldn't have gone to such lengths to appease him back then. Perhaps he holds the key. The moment Song Su entered the palace, upon hearing Xiao Heng's inquiry, he immediately sought to curry favor. Your Majesty, rest assured, this unfilial daughter has been dealt with by this humble servant. I guarantee she will cause you not a single moment of trouble. How did you handle her? Your Majesty despised her, didn't you? I saw her sent back and made her a maid. Then she dared harm Hui Hui. I sold her off. Your Majesty needn't trouble yourself retrieving her only to fume in vain. The place I sold her to doesn't keep people long. She died within days. Xiao Heng's voice turned to ice. Dead. Song Su looked bewildered and panicked. Yes, Your Majesty, you hated her most, didn't you? When did I ever hate her? Xiao Heng roared with fury. Your Majesty has always favored Hui Hui. You burned her alive for Hui Hui, stole her husband for Hui Hui, aborted 4 of her children because Hui Hui said she wanted to win over her sister once. Wanted to have a child first. Even sleeping with her was because she resembled Hui Hui. Is that not so? Xiao Heng's rage was like a bucket of cold water dumped over his head. He opened his mouth, yet no words came out. He turned to look at Eunuch Li, who had long since knelt on the floor. Is that so? Eunuch Li remained silent for a moment. During Your Majesty's last birthday celebration, he did indeed call out Wei Hui's name while drunk. That night, Auntie couldn't sleep at all. She only felt better after learning she was pregnant. She said she wanted to make the child happy. So she pored over books for a month just to choose the right name. Eunuch Li trailed off. Xiao Heng collapsed into his chair. He surveyed the vast palace hall, suffused with the unfamiliar, cloying scent of jasmine. Clear it all out. Remove everything. As the chamber emptied, Xiao Heng staggered to his feet and headed for the exit. Eunuch Li asked what should replace the items. Replace them with things Chang'e liked. Eunuch Li pressed. But what does the princess like? Xiao Heng froze, utterly speechless. He had no idea what song Chang'e liked. Minister Song entered the palace and stayed another night. Outside, the rumors grew more vivid. They said he knelt in the palace, fainting 2 or 3 times. But since the emperor hadn't spoken, he dared not rise or leave. His clothes were soiled with his own waste. The court was seething with discontent. I needn't do much. Merely stoking the fire of rumors about the emperor's loathing for Minister Song and feeding them to his political enemies would suffice. Inns and tea houses truly are excellent places for spreading news. My goods are all prepared. The escort agency I selected over 2 days is quite satisfactory, reporting their names to me one by one. The proprietress was a nimble woman wielding twin bladesser named Hua. I watched with envy as I mounted my horse in male attire. The imperial decree to confiscate the Song family's assets arrived. 18 charges were laid against them. One by one, the occupants were led out. Head escort Hua inquired, would the Hakka guest care to watch the spectacle a while longer? I stroked my false beard. Not lively enough. The Song family collapsed overnight. Its speed rivaled an avalanche. Song Hui, who had already been taken back by Duke Qinpei, entered the palace once more. As we departed, her carriage was blocked at the outer wall, pale-faced. Song Hui stepped down. Her meticulously adorned features bore an eerie, extravagant beauty. I demand to see His Majesty. He cannot refuse me. Go announce my arrival, you vile creatures. Her whip lashed out. But this time, instead of being struck as usual, the guard seized the lash, flung her backward, and she crashed to the ground, furious. She screamed, "You worthless thing! Do you know who I am? Do you know how much the emperor values me? Do you want to die?" The guard remained expressionless. From behind the carriage, Qinpei rushed forward, reaching out to pull her up. "If you want to die, don't drag my Qin family down with you. Come back with me." Song Hui spat. She sneered coldly. "I aborted your child long ago. Do you think I care about being the wife of some minor duke? His Majesty said it himself if I ever want it. The position of Empress is always open for me." Qinpei's rage boiled over. "You're mad. You bitch. Chang'e wasn't enough, now you want to destroy our entire family." Song Hui retorted. "Wasn't Chang'e killed by you? If you hadn't been having an affair with me during that fire, she wouldn't have died so quickly. That's because you drugged me. Pfft. You drugged your own body, not your brain. It's clear you lusted after my flesh. I was drunk. I mistook you for her. Ha. If you mistook me for her, why did you call my name? Shut your filthy mouth." Qinpei's neck bulged with veins as he lunged to strangle Song Hui. The accusations grew more absurd by the moment. Just then, the ranks parted. The emperor himself emerged. Fortunately, our caravan stood at a distance. I dismounted and walked on foot. Song Hui crawled toward Xiao Heng on her knees, adopting her usual pitiful demeanor. "Your Majesty, Hui Hui has come to understand. Hui Hui is willing to enter the palace." Xiao Heng kicked her away. Song Hui whined again. "Didn't your Majesty say, if you could win my heart in this lifetime, you'd have no regrets? Truly, Hui has always admired you. What are you? Do you even deserve it? You're not even worth a single toe of Chang'e's." The icy words spilled forth, devoid of any lingering affection. All pretense and aura vanished. He looked at the woman before him, seeing only disgust. "So eager to give your heart. Bring her here. Cut it out for me." Song Hu's face drained of color. "Spare me, your Majesty. Your Majesty, isn't Song Changle dead? She's gone, but I'm still here. Qin Pei treats me as her substitute. Your Majesty, you could treat me as your substitute too. I can speak and walk just like her. A long sword pressed against her chin. Madness filled Xiao Heng's eyes. Who said she died? Go find her. He looked at Changle. Go wherever you sold her to. If you can't find her, don't bother coming back. He turned his gaze to Qin Pei. As for you, divorce is forbidden. Did you not once tell me? For the sake of the children, that you already considered her half a wife. Then continue bearing children with her. Make up for the 5 children I once lost. Madman Xiao Heng never observed etiquette, acting with utter recklessness. But this level of madness was unprecedented. Qin Pei collapsed onto the ground in despair. Xiao Heng had heard the new news and was searching everywhere for me. The spies he dispatched even pursued a merchant caravan. They examined each traveler, even questioning the bandit leader Hua. Yet I was nowhere to be found. Drinking, sunburned skin, one-handed rabbit hunting, horseback archery. Are you blind or am I? Even disguised as a man, you wouldn't look like this. Not a trace of femininity. The spy shook his head. The spy took the silver, left behind gossip and conversation fodder. Then departed. Xiao Heng kept searching for me, but there was no trace. Even after combing places like Linchuan and Nanyang, if he couldn't be happy, no one else could be either. He said whatever they owed me in the past, he would reclaim for me. Song Su knelt to death in the palace. The Song family fell into ruin. He demanded Qin Pei and Song Hui compensate him for his child. Song Hui, already weakened by her miscarriage, was further traumatized by the filthy place and descended into madness. Qin Pei couldn't bear it. He actually castrated himself with a blade. I drank the last cup of wine and sent off the messenger. Sitting back down, I quartered the rabbit in my hands. 3 children trailed far behind the caravan. They'd been following since we left the last town. Come here. I saw the rabbit meat being passed around, but they didn't take it. 2 of the children ran off. Moments later, one returned carrying a filthy infant wrapped in swaddling clothes. Big sister, do you want a baby? A dirty face, large eyes, bright and pure. I looked up at the other 3 children gathered around my child, their eyes full of expectation, tinged with a hint of pleading. She's very well behaved. We found her by the roadside. She doesn't cry, and she only needs water and rice gruel. Another child added. She eats very little, just this little bit. The 3rd child chimed in. She also wears very little, just this small piece of cloth. The little infant was thin, her tiny mouth puckered. That won't be enough, I said. They gasped. I smiled. I want 3 more. I looked at each of them. The little beggar's eyes widened in disbelief. Then they all crowded around. Sister, from childhood, I loved bustle and company. I disliked embroidery and those small, square corners. Whenever I looked up at the square sky, I'd imagine how the birds must feel. Now the sea is vast enough for fish to leap. Truly exhilarating. Sister Huan never returned. She stayed with me in the western regions. The western regions were small and poor, making it easy to become an official. Once you held office and had money, promotions grew increasingly effortless. The children grew up, and the handsome, intelligent youth could now stand on his own. We met merchants who shared our interests and wandering knights of the road. All manner of people added different hues to our desert life. 8 years later, in the 2nd month, my 2 younger brothers now controlled the Western Moon Kingdom's treasury and its military. They successfully elevated me to the position of prince, to assist the young king. Nearly a decade later, I returned to the capital. By then, Xiao Heng had already stepped down during a protracted coup, retiring at the height of his power, and was demoted to the Marquis of Shilin. His greatest failure in losing the throne was his lack of heir. She was even suspected of being impotent. His final words to the new emperor were, once had 5 children, the new emperor sneered. Oh, is that so? I hear you discarded them yourself, aborted them with your own hands. So now you have none. Xiaoheng's final request upon abdication was to retain his imperial retreat. After settling at the Ministry of Ceremonies, I led my entourage slowly along the old streets to the largest inn. Now it had been converted into a tavern. I ordered a pot of wine, still choosing the window seat, gazing distantly at the imperial residence. The Jade Mountain platform still stood, though lacking human presence. It bore a certain air of decay. I asked, why not tear that place down? It looks disgusting. It's time for a new palace. How dare you? A servant nearby shouted in rebuke. I turned my head and immediately saw Xiaoheng. Not even a decade had passed since we last met. Half his hair had turned white. He stared at me, momentarily lost, his gaze lingering. I met his eyes without flinching. After a long while, his fingers trembled slightly. It's you, he called the waiter and ordered an abundance of dishes for me. All were things I had once eaten in the imperial residence. He said this Pangui tower was built for me. He had waited for me for so long, searched for me endlessly. The thought that I had once been so close yet slipped through his fingers nearly drove him mad. He said he was wrong. He said he had already paid his price. He said he had understood everything the day I lost my child. He wanted to care for me. He wanted to be with me. He said that once I bore him an heir, he would make me empress. I nearly laughed out loud, saying this now, Marquis of Shilin. Don't you find it laughable? What are we to each other? Changel, if you didn't care for me, why would you have returned? 10 years of punishment enough for both of us. From now on his hand hadn't even touched me when a sword separated us. The handsome guard frowned. Sir, show restraint. This is the Prince of Xie. Xiaoheng stared at me in shock. You are the newly risen Prince of Xie in the western regions. The Prince of Xie who's about to return with his kingdom. How could it be you? How is that possible? I looked at him with mockery. Why wouldn't it be possible, Lord Xiao? It seems you truly know nothing about this prince. Xiaoheng asked why I hadn't seen him back then. When he got the answer, he refused to believe it. Just as he wouldn't believe I drugged him, that I was the one who chose to leave. But you drank that medicated dish that day, didn't you? Because being with you sickened me. When I lost each of those children, I lay awake night after night. The imperial physician's remedies grew useless in the end. Those medicated dishes, no matter how many I ate, they tasted like plain water to me. Xiaoheng shuddered. Changel, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. I was blinded by foolishness, believing Song Hu's nonsense. I thought we had all the time in the world, that it didn't matter if we didn't have children right away. I rose, overcome with revulsion, thinking I was leaving. Xiaoheng knelt abruptly on the floor. Changel, give me one more chance. I looked down at him. When my mother lay dying and begged to see me, when Lianqin threw herself into the flames, did you give them a chance to conceal your own thoughts, to satisfy your selfish desires all these years? When servants died, when innocent people pleaded for mercy, did you ever give them a chance? Now that your return edict has reached the court, you will henceforth be a subject of Dashing, bound by its decrees. I will petition the new emperor, using the hundreds of thousands I've saved in my private treasury, to issue an edict betrothing you to me. He will agree. Xiaoheng spoke slowly. How convenient. I, too, have words for the new emperor. On the state letter received by the new emperor, one of my demands for returning with the territory was to dispose of Xiaoheng. A deposed emperor of the previous dynasties lived long enough. This was an easy choice for the new emperor. Before leaving the Ministry of Ceremonies, I received a reply. Today, I came merely to watch the show. Outside the tavern, the crowd had mysteriously vanished. Black-armored guards steadily ascended the steps. Xiaoheng sensed the disturbance, furrowing his brow. He rose and turned to urge me to leave with him. I scornfully refused. When Xiao Heng tried to force me, my younger sister kicked him away. This time, he could not stop any of my refusals. The black armored guards worked swiftly, dispatching his attendants in moments. Xiao Heng lay sprawled on the ground, his body a patch of crimson, unable to rise. He begged me to look back at him. Changel, just give me one more chance. I'll do whatever you say. Whatever you say. Tell me what to do. And I'll do it fine. Then die. My final sword thrust pierced the hand he reached out to grab mine. Then, without a backward glance, I walked away at a measured pace. I had waited far too long for this moment. It had always been this way. Fairness cannot be begged for with tears, but must be seized through power. Power truly is a wonderful thing. Power, my dear, is the will that can be enforced even when others resist. Such a precious thing should reside in the hands of the worthy. Xiao Heng, clearly, was not worthy. Behind me, flames slowly engulfed the structure, accompanied by Xiao Heng's screams that gradually faded, just like the blaze at the Jinning Marquis mansion many years ago. Back then, Xiao Heng was outside, and I was inside. This time, he was inside, and I was outside. But this time, no one was willing to die for him. I rubbed my empty stomach. Outside, the bustle continued. The Tower of Longing stood alone here, untouched by the spreading flames. I turned to summon my sworn brothers. We'd have to find a new place for lunch. Today calls for a fine wine. The end.